So I hope you enjoy this watch build. As we take a step-by-step approach to building this watch, we also tackle some of the history of the features of this watch, like hacking. If you've never heard the word watch hack, I'll tell you where it came from. We'll talk about some of the cosmetic choices that I made and also get your opinion on whether or not I made the right choice. Either way, this is a cool watch and I really enjoyed making it, and I hope you enjoy this journey. This watch checks all the boxes for a watch lover. The parts, the fit, the finish, the feel, the weight, everything about it just screams quality. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, and let's start at the beginning. So any luxury watch, the thing that makes it luxury is the fit and finish, but just as important is the accuracy. I start out every new build by putting in my movement into the time graph and taking my time going through all of the necessary steps to ensure that we can get the watch dialed in to as accurate as possible. And this watch, we're using a Seiko NH35 Alpha, and this watch is rated for approximately 20 seconds loss a day up to 40 seconds gained a day, or vice versa. I don't quite remember. But when you spend some time on this movement with your time graph, and you can really dial this thing in to where it's almost a 0-0 rate. As you can see here, this is what I started out with, and this is totally acceptable for an NH35 Alpha. However, we can do better. First, let's talk about the bottom lever on the balance wheel. Because this is a two-dimensional video, I think it's very important for me to clarify what I mean by bottom. If you look at this movement, we are looking from the top straight down. And as you can see, the top lever, which is your top regulator arm, it is actually for the time. And you can see that the one towards the top is actually underneath the one for the time. And that's what I mean when I say the bottom. See, I'm pointing at it now. This is your time. It's for time regulation. And then the one at the top here, we'll go back to it here. That is the beat error regulator. I don't mean to insult your intelligence, but if you don't know, you don't know. And when I started out, I didn't know. Now, your beat error is basically when your balance wheel goes left and right. And if it goes to the left longer than it goes to the right, then you'll see a beat error. And the beat error can be a positive or a negative. The goal is to get the beat error to be back to 0. And what this means is that the balance wheel will rotate the exact same degrees to the right as it does to the left. So you want to look at the bottom lever on the balance wheel as a center, if you will. The goal is to set the spring in the center so that it's 0 and you have less of a chance for a beat error. It's really hard to set your rate to make sure that you're not losing time or gaining time unless your beat error is right. Also, if your beat error is off, when you change the position of your arm by rotating your arm up, down, left, right, you're more likely to have a change in the watch movement. So if you start off with your beat error at 0, then your watch is going to be accurate throughout more of the movement. It'll always change as you move your arm, but still it's going to be more accurate as long as your beat error is accurate. And then the next level will be the lever on the top. Once you get your beat error set, the next thing you want to do is set your top lever by pushing it forward for positive or negative, back and forth. Basically, there's a little diagram on top of the watch that tells you which way to push it. So if you have a positive, in our case, we had 11 seconds positive. We were able to just move that top lever just absolutely slight touches, and dial the rate back to 0. And what that means is we're neither gaining time or losing time. So if you see a positive 11, that means you're gaining approximately 11 seconds a day. And over a period of time, you're going to have to readjust your watch more often. I guess the simple answer is this: the more accurate the watch, the better the watch. When I started planning to build this watch, it was really important to me that I used really high-end quality stuff. And this is a Rolex-inspired case, but it has a hint of Seiko built into it as well. So it's not a duplicate or a clone in any way, but it's very high-end finish. It has sapphire crystals in the front face, and also it has sapphire in the back. I'm just really pleased with the case. I was a little bit embarrassed here. I was cleaning this watch case off on the side, and to the naked eye, it looked so shiny. But after, putting on the microscope and the magnifying glass a little later on, I realized that I had not removed the shipping film from the watch. And once I did that, I was amazed at how beautiful the watch really was. So you can see in the background my choices of a Jubilee type bracelet. And again, this is a really high quality bracelet. Very excited about how it feels in my hand. The bracelet is heavy as some watches are. When I planned it out, I ordered this mother of pearl dial face, and at the time I could see it in my head what it was going to look like, and I thought that was going to be the look. And I will say the watch turned out beautiful, but I'm not sure that watch face still is the right watch face for this watch. I'd appreciate some comments and tell me what you think. Maybe a black Seiko watch face would be better. Tell me what you think. The NH35 Alpha has a hack feature, and I think this is a good time to talk about the history of a hack feature on a watch and kind of where it all came from. During World War II, there was a contract put out called A11, and in that contract, there was a requirement that a watch have a hack feature. And what the hack feature means is that when the crown is pulled all the way out, it will stop the second hand. And why that's so important for the military is, for an example, let's say a set of engineers back in World War II were going to have explosives set off at a specific time, and it was mission critical. So prior to the mission, all of the officers and senior enlisted that were in charge of the mission would get together, and the leader would set the time and say hack. And at that time, everybody would push in their crown and start their second hand. So they would set the second hand to the 12 o'clock position on the watch, and as soon as the commander said hack, everybody pressed it in at the same time, and that got everybody on track for the short term. Now you have to understand, during those times of World War II, the watches were probably, it was probably pretty reasonable for a watch to lose 30 seconds a day. That's how important it was to do this before each mission, especially time critical missions. The next time you're playing watch trivia, you can answer the question, who made the first watch with a hack? And that would be Bulova. And it was made under the contract A11. So fast forward 35 years later, and there's a lot of military members buying Seiko watches. And the original NH35 did not have the hack feature. When the Alpha came out, the NH35 Alpha came out, it did have the hack feature. And you'll see a lot of these NH35 Alpha in military style watches. So let's move on with our watch build. It's very, very important that you take your time and rotate your date over to when it just falls into place, that you stop moving. And that means that your 12 o'clock or your hand is in the 12 o'clock position for both your hour and your minute and your second. That is that's the accurate way of setting your hands. So you can see here, I use a little bit of Rodico to hold the hour hand in place. And then what I'm doing is just barely starting the hour hand. And this gives me the ability to still move it and fine tune it. Making sure not to move the crown, we'll repeat the process for the minute hand and also for the second hand. After I put the minute hand on, I always rotate it around to make sure there's no interference with the other hands. The silver hand came with this set of hands, and then I had this red hand, which I thought would just kind of set it over the top. Still not sure that I made the right choice by using the silver hand, but I will say that it really looks good. It's hard to argue against the chrome second hand, but in the back of my mind, I always wonder what it would look like with the red second hand. Once I have all the hands on, I go through and move the hands completely through several cycles, several hours, and just make sure there's no hang-ups. I also want to look at it from the side to make sure that they're even and level. As I've said in many other videos, this is the point that I get so excited because you set the case over the dial face, and this is when your decisions either make sense or they don't. After looking at it, I really think I like it. I would like you guys' comments and tell me what you think, if I went the right direction or not. However, I want you guys to know I learn as much from the comments as I do from actually building the watches. So now we're going to install the stem onto the new crown. And this is a time-consuming process because it has to be right. If you cut this stem too short, then you're going to have to start all over with another one and waste the stem. But it's an art to getting this exactly right, where as soon as the crown comes off of the last thread of the watch base, it allows free movement for it to wind. But then with just a small push in, it catches the first thread and you're able to screw the crown back in, making it watertight. I always move this away and aim it away from the watch itself because I had one cut off and it flew into the watch and actually damaged the hairpin. It was a learning experience, so now I make sure that I aim it somewhere other than the watch. Who knew? Using Loctite and this tool, you can apply enough torque to make sure that the crown doesn't come off of the stem. It's one of the biggest problems with when you first start out is not having the tool to hold the stem in a way that you can put enough torque that the Loctite actually works. For the brevity of this video, I did take out several of the iterations of me removing the stem from the watch, or shortening it, filing it, just to make sure that it was absolutely perfect. That took me probably about 3 times to get exactly right. It's always better to cut too little than to cut too much. So this is the time that the watch gets the most love and attention that it ever will. Every corner, every nook, every cranny has been cleaned and polished and just cared after. And that's pretty much the last that this watch will see that, other than the occasional servicing. I look at watches as tools, so I really mean to wear this watch, and it will have good use throughout its life, and hopefully be passed on down to a friend or a family member. I think this is a great watch for the one watch person, where you have a watch that you would feel comfortable going to a more formal event, but also you'd feel just as comfortable on the beach in the sand at a pair of shorts. I hope you enjoyed this build as much as I did, and I thank you for watching. God bless.